Hello there, and welcome to LoreDive, where we look into and analyze the stories behind all of our favorite video games. Today we are going into the newest paragraph for Dead by Daylight, Hour of the Witch, with its new addition in the form of the one survivor, Michaela Reed. Michaela Reed, the young mystic. Michaela Reed was 16 when her father passed away. She would always miss his sailing lessons at dawn, his colorful yet inedible tacos, and his warm, contagious laughter. She felt like she was paddling in a vast, storm-black ocean, each rolling wave submerging her. Drifting in painful darkness, she almost lost herself. But resiliently, with love and care, she made her way back to shore. Well surrounded and supported by her friends, Michaela put the past behind her and looked at life in a new light. She was excited to try new things and discovered storytelling as an outlet. Her friends liked her stories of daunting danger and hard-earned survival. She read horror stories more and more, savoring the powerful, heart-pounding escapism it provided. Autumn became her favorite season, and she threw a grand production for Halloween every year, hosting all her friends for a thrilling night of horror stories, scary games, and homemade treats. Over the years, she also showed an interest in witchcraft and practiced light blessings, plant-based spells, and palm-reading divination. She gardened sage, mugwort, and lavender to craft homemade potions such as body butters, soaps, and skin lotions. She aspired one day to live off the products she made for friends and family. In the meantime, she worked as a barista at the Moonstone, an independent and eccentric coffee shop in the artsy part of town. Every Friday night, she hosted an open mic night at the coffee shop, performing stories live in front of customers. Julian, her best friend and roommate, recorded some of her shows and posted them online, and unbeknownst to her, he submitted one of her performances to the Endless Halloween Festival, where renowned storytellers performed on stage for Halloween. It was a beautiful surprise when Michaela received an email from the festival inviting her to perform at their grand final on Halloween. The winning prize was big enough for her to launch her line of products. Excited, she burnt a stick of herbs in each room to dissipate negative energies, then began to craft her tale of horror. Michaela stayed up all night, filling her notebooks with abandoned beginnings. She had a story in mind, but unearthing it took patience and skill. The following night, the nightmares began. For a week, she would wake in the middle of the night, gasping for air. Her dream was the same every night. She was dragged down a cold set of stairs and thrown into a dark basement. Then her lungs would be set ablaze by a sharp iron hook stabbing her in the chest. A dark figure would pull on the hook and hoist her from the ground, slowly until the pain woke her. The more she finessed her Halloween tale, the darker her nightmares grew. As days passed, exhaustion, anxiety, and stress took a toll on her. Often distracted, her coffees at the Moonstone were rushed, acrid, or going to the wrong customer. She no longer blessed the coffee beans in the morning, nor looked for omens in the leftover coffee grains. Her energy was low, and her magic felt drained. Minutes later, her fingers began to twitch, then her toes. Her breath became labored. Then, Julian stared in shock as Michaela slowly rose in the air, levitating over her bed. Panicked, he shook her shoulders to wake her, but stopped when she began to scream. He grabbed his phone to call an ambulance, but a powerful crash diverted his attention. He looked down the hallway and saw a large, spidery fang slam through the bathroom door. Amidst the commotion, Michaela woke. She saw the black, spidery fang shredding the bathroom door and jumped out of bed. She slammed her bedroom door shut and shouted at Julian to help her barricade the door. Before he could react, however, the power went out. The room was submerged in sudden darkness. A second later, the lights came back on and an eerie quietness followed. Michaela and Julian ventured out of the bedroom carefully. The bathroom door looked intact and there was no sign of anything abnormal. but Julian had recorded every sound. A sleepless night followed. When she returned to the apartment after her shift, Julian was not there. Michaela wanted to remove the recording of their ordeal, which he had posted online. Suspecting Julian may be at school, she left. The door clicked shut behind her, masking a stifled cry from the bathroom. As she neared her car, she looked over her shoulder. Michaela felt watched. She whispered a protective spell and clutched her keys. Suddenly, a shadow pounced on the wall and she broke into a run. She reached her car and rushed inside, locking the doors behind her. Breathing hard, she looked through the windows. No one was there. Perhaps it was just her nerves playing tricks on her. She turned the ignition on and drove off. The next day, Julian was still nowhere to be found. Michaela had contacted everyone they knew. She looked for him all day and waited for him all night. Distraught and anxious, she missed her shift at the Moonstone. Halloween was tonight, and so was the festival. Julian had entered the storytelling competition for her. He had supported her every time she doubted herself. Maybe he would be there. But between her nightmares and Julian's disappearance, she had been too worried to prepare a story for the contest. She looked at her notebook, filled with false starts. She could stay at home, scared and helpless, or she could finish what Julian had started. There was a reason why she loved to tell horror stories. They made her feel brave enough to face any challenge. That evening, when the host called Michaela's name at the endless Halloween festival, she boldly stepped on stage, dressed in a costume, a black dress matched with a wide witchy hat. She hoped to spot Julian in the crowd, but she could not find him, and looking directly at the audience was a mistake. A sea of expectant faces was before her, eyes watching her every move. Her heart pounded in her chest as her hands began to shake. She grabbed the warm microphone and cleared her throat. A thick silence greeted her, only interrupted by a distant cough. She reminded herself that tonight was All Hallows' Eve, when the veil thinned betwixt this realm and the one beyond. She had a story in her heart, a story that mattered. If she told it right, perhaps Julian would hear it. Michaela took a deep breath. The wet wind of autumn whirled golden leaves around her. She inhaled the acrid smell of damp foliage. She swallowed the bitter aftertaste of coffee still on her tongue. Distant eyes cawed from an old oak tree. She closed her eyes. The crimson darkness under her eyelids turned darker. Her heartbeat slowed. She exhaled deeply, her breath a puff of mist on the cold night air. Now she felt awakened, refreshed for the first time in weeks, ready to tell the tale of a lifetime. She spoke into the microphone in a deep, haunting voice. She narrated the tale of billowing winds on a cold autumn night, of a loyal friend disappearing before daylight, of forgotten victims hiding in the wings of darkness, of throbbing graves sealed with terrible secrets, and of an eternal night in the shadow of death. Michaela pointed to the night sky and said that no darkness was truly beyond light. Even on this moonless night, the sky shined with long, dead stars. A thick, black fog engulfed Michaela to the audience's amazement, and no one saw Michaela Reed again. Michaela's addition to the entity's realm adds something new to the procedural: Boon Totems. Boon Totems can be created by a survivor by invoking power and focusing it into a Dull or Hex totem, though Hex totems will take longer to bless than Dull totems. Once they have finished channeling their invocation, an aura will appear that all survivors can see. The effects of the boon will be condensed to that one area. Multiple survivors can bless different totems in the procedural, but a survivor can only bless one totem at a time. If they decide to bless a different totem, their original totem will lose its blessing. If a player has multiple boon blessings, then all blessings will be added to the same totem. While killers will not be able to see the auras that boon totems provide, they will be able to hear them. If a killer finds a boon totem, they will be able to stomp it out. This will cleanse the boon, but not destroy the totem itself. Michaela's first perk is Clairvoyance. There is an intrinsic energy that allows Michaela to see beyond her vision. After having cleansed a totem, Michaela can use the energy within her to see her other objectives. When empty-handed, pressing and holding the action button will allow her to see the auras of all exit gates, generators, hooks, and chests within 64 meters for a period of time. Michaela's second perk is Boon, Circle of Healing. Michaela has found a way to provide comfort even in the midst of terror. With Boon, Circle of Healing, after Michaela has blessed a totem, all survivors within the totem's aura will be able to heal themselves. If the survivor has a medkit or is being healed by another survivor, then their healing speed is increased. Michaela's final perk is Boon, Shadow Step. Michaela has found a way to obscure the truth from her enemies. Within this boon's aura, all scratch marks are suppressed, and any survivors that leave the totem's range will continue to have their scratch marks hidden for a set period of time. On top of this, the auras of any survivors that are within the boon's range will be hidden from the killer. Michaela is now wandering in a realm she is unfamiliar with, and brings a new power to face off against the entity. While her power is substantial, she must constantly be wary of her surroundings, because something wicked this way comes. Thanks for watching this episode of LoreDive. I hope you enjoyed it. I wasn't quite expecting to do another Dead by Daylight LoreDive so soon after Hellraiser, but no rest for the wicked. Special thanks to Cornick, Jack Freeman, and JTG, my lovely Patreon followers. If you would also like to help fund these videos and get a couple of extras on the side, you can do so by following the link down below. Also down there is a link to my Twitch where you can hang out as we play some games, like Dead by Daylight perhaps. And also, if you are of a mind, also down there is a link to our Discord where you can hang out and talk about a lot of random stuff. And with that, that's it for this episode. I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.